In my view were my parents standing still, as if waiting to apologize. "Thank you for coming all this way." My mother continued to speak as she looked down in desperation. "We heard that you might be able to help our nearly bankrupt factory, and we are deeply grateful for it." My father also continued without making eye contact. It was surprising that the factory they needed help with was actually the workplace of their daughter, whom they had abandoned in the cold mountains. "Let's proceed with business matters. Please raise your heads." As I urged them, both looked up in surprise at the familiar voice. Stella. Their astonished expressions were somewhat comical, inducing laughter. "Now, how should I return the favor? My name is Stella Green. I live in a city. However, the only part of it that is really developing is around the station area where I live is mostly a rural area dotted with farms. My family used to run a small smithy, making and repairing farm tools, but from my great-grandfather's time, we began making parts for agricultural machinery and managed the factory on a considerable scale. We are a fairly well-known old family in this area. My father, Jan, is the president of Green Machinery, and my mother, Greta, is the executive director. I have an older brother named Elwin, who has been intelligent since he was young and was the pride of our parents. In this countryside, it is common to expect a lot from the eldest son, and he lived up to those expectations by going to a top high school. On the other hand, while my parents lavished love on their eldest son, I was always somewhat neglected and not much noticed. In the traditional thinking of the countryside, it is assumed that women will eventually leave the family home. Compared to my brother, who would take over the family business, there were hardly any expectations for me. A woman cannot take over the family home. "Once you graduate high school, that's the end of it," my father coldly declared. I was a middle school student at the time, understanding my role and deciding to focus on my studies. However, it was difficult for a middle schooler to set such a goal. I had no choice but to move forward. Driven by this single-mindedness, my brother and I were so different that it was hard to believe we were siblings. In school, he was among the elite, acting like a captain steering a large ship. I preferred physical activity over studying, freely running through the countryside like a deer or a goat. If there was one thing I excelled at over my brother, it was my athletic ability. But fate was harsh. Not blessed with talents like my brothers, I studied hard, but my grades struggled to improve. Seeing this, my parents mocked me, saying, "No good. You're not like Elwin. Don't you understand your own shortcomings?" Their words pierced my heart, and I glared at them, feeling indignant. Even though there was some truth in what my parents said, it only fueled my frustration. Then one day, the results of the school's midterm exams came back. Despite my considerable efforts in studying, the grades were disappointingly poor, and I couldn't hide my shock. I didn't want to show these grades to anyone, but my parents insisted that I reveal them. When they saw my report card, they laughed at me. "We should have expected this all along. There's no value in investing in you anymore." It's true. It's hard to believe you share the same DNA as Elwin. Something must be wrong. As I sat formally in front of my parents getting scolded, I prayed internally for this moment to end soon. Then, my brother came to my aid and helped me with my studies. He was not good at expressing his feelings to our parents, but he was always a solid presence for me. It might be partly my fault that our parents are so strict, but I'm always here for you. Moved by his warm encouragement, I couldn't hold back my tears. With his support, I was confident I could overcome any challenge. As I advanced to the second year of middle school, my brother passed the entrance exam for a prestigious university in the metropolitan area and left home. His old room became empty, leaving me with only harsh comparisons. My brother naturally excelled, displaying his talents effortlessly. While living in his shadow, I was searching for my own path. I found joy in running more than studying and participated in the track team at school. I always loved to run and decided to pursue a career as a long-distance runner. Aiming for this goal, I hoped to receive a recommendation from a prestigious school known for its relay races. While my brother excelled academically, he was not good at sports. In this respect, I felt that I had surpassed him. Yet, despite this, my parents were more interested in his test scores than the speed at which I could run. My efforts were overlooked, and only my brother, who always improved his grades, received all the love from our parents. As my brother approached an important milestone at 18, my parents planned a lavish celebration for him. As his birthday neared, my mother declared, "Give him an expensive watch. If you can't manage that, then don't think about going to university." However, I had no funds to prepare such an expensive gift. As expected, the result was the same. Relatives gathered, and a lavish meal was served at a well-known restaurant in the area. But as if I didn't belong there, I was left on my own at home. "Elwin deserves delicious food because he excels. You're just obsessed with running, and being around him would only make you miserable," my mother said. Her words deeply wounded me. After sending off my parents and brother, I ate instant noodles alone at home. Pouring hot water into the bowl, the rising steam made my loneliness feel even more intense. My tears wouldn't stop as sadness and frustration mixed together. During those days, my brother, who was visiting home during summer break, introduced me to the possibilities of the internet. After graduating, he had started working at a top company. Carrying the responsibilities of an adult, he seemed to have matured rapidly. "Here, this is an old model, but it's fast enough for surfing the web. Try using it, it might even help with your studies." Smiling, he handed me the laptop. "And try using this as well. I want you to study it." The book he handed me was a beginner's guide to programming. This sequence of events marked my first step into the world of IT. Although I initially had a weak spot for mathematical sciences, I found creating my own programs surprisingly enjoyable and frequently used the laptop. The moment when my homemade programs functioned brought a profound sense of satisfaction. Gradually, though still vague, I began to see something I wanted to pursue. It wasn't yet concrete, but I felt its outline becoming clearer. However, one day, that dream was abruptly dismissed by my father. "Hey, are you playing on the computer again instead of studying?" "I'm programming." "I'm not playing." "Don't lie." "You must be gaming on that computer." Angered by his accusation, I retorted somewhat provocatively. "People with old-fashioned thoughts like you wouldn't understand how to utilize computers." That comment only fueled my father's anger more. "What are you talking about? Don't say such things, Stella." Suddenly, he snatched the laptop and threw it out the window. "Why would you do such a thing? Hanf, you're still in high school and always just playing games. Now that the computer is broken, maybe you'll study seriously." I watched my father's smug laugh as I headed outside towards where the laptop had landed. The computer had smashed against the ground, its screen shattered and the case cracked. It wouldn't turn on anymore, rendered completely useless. Just as programming was starting to captivate me and a hopeful future seemed visible, I gathered the broken pieces of the laptop, engulfed in deep sadness. The precious laptop gifted by my brother was tragically destroyed. Without the money for repairs, it seemed like my newfound dream might disappear too. Standing before the remnants of my broken laptop, I was overwhelmed with despair. The precious gift from my brother had turned into mere junk. Unable to afford the repair costs, I had no room to search for new hope. However, on my way to school weighed down with heavy feelings, a friend made an unexpected suggestion that offered a glimmer of hope. "Why don't you use the school's desktop computers?" The teacher agreed, and the school's computer room became my new sanctuary after class. There, a reliable desktop computer awaited me. It was an immovable foundation of stability for me. As I spent more and more time with the school computers on weekends, a teacher who noticed my enthusiasm offered additional support. I became absorbed in programming. Throughout high school, I gradually refined this skill. Then, in the summer of my sophomore year, I took part in a summer course in New York, suggested by my brother. I covered the transportation costs with money I earned from part-time jobs. I stayed in the dormitory of the company where my brother worked, dedicating my days to the course and receiving special lessons in the evenings from my brother and his unique friend, Alan. Alan is a bit quirky, but he's not a bad guy, so don't worry. He's not used to being around women since he went to an all-boys school, so don't tease him too much. What are you saying? I've had my share of interactions with women, you know? Oh, really? When was that? When we did the folk dance in elementary school. We couldn't help but suppress our laughter during this heartwarming exchange. Alan's innocence added a special color to our summer. With that smile, my passion for programming accelerated even further. By the end of the summer, a new chapter in my life had begun. With the help of my brother and his friend Alan, I had delved deep into the world of programming and was completely captivated by its allure. Alan was different from my brother, behaving like the son of a genteel family, polite and refined. He was a bit eccentric, but I never felt any malice from him, and I found myself somewhat charmed. I was entering the summer of my final year in high school. When my computer was destroyed earlier, my brother had apologized, but during the summer break when he came home, he secretly brought a used laptop with him. It was a gift from Alan. Alan's quite wealthy, you know. When I asked if he had any unused computers, he gave this one, my brother said, chuckling mischievously. He said he wanted to give it to you as a present, so I brought it right over. Seems like he's quite fond of you, he added. What are you talking about? I responded, my face turning red as my brother laughed and playfully tapped my head. After that, I received a lot of advice from my brother, and my programming skills improved significantly. I never thought you would take such an interest in programming, my brother said. Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes unexpected things happen when there's a mistake in the calculations, but it's really thrilling when you solve it, I replied. But programming was more than just a hobby for me. I was deeply passionate about it, and the joy of seeing my own programs function was indescribably precious. With this passion, I made the decision to leave home. I bid farewell to university life and decided to work for a company in the metropolitan area. I was determined to follow the path I had chosen. With a brand new computer in hand, I continued to move steadily towards the future. While enhancing my programming skills, my adventure was still ongoing. One day, while packing for a new life under the cold winter sky, my parents suddenly called me. Normally, I would expect an unpleasant topic, but surprisingly, a different conversation came up. Let's all go on a trip together, my father suggested. Family trips from my childhood felt like distant memories. We decided to use a hotel voucher my uncle had won in a lottery. I was a little excited about the family trip that my brother, who was also coming home, would join. On the day of the trip, we headed for a hotel situated in a heavily snow-covered area, with my father driving. Unusually, my parents seemed to be in good spirits, engaging in conversations that mostly revolved around my brother's job and the struggles of my father's factory due to the economic downturn, leaving me out of the discussions. The hotel was unexpectedly luxurious, and we were thoroughly relaxed by the pool and delicious meals. However, the kindness from my parents felt somewhat unnatural. Waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I overheard whispered voices from my parents' room. We can't afford to spare any more money on her food. If we leave her behind, she'll understand. Yes, it's time for a big house cleaning. They were planning to force me out of the house. I am destined to be abandoned. Accepting this seemed to be my only option. With a heavy heart, I left home. The drive back was quiet, possibly due to everyone being tired, with little conversation. I was to be dropped off at the station and then head straight to the dormitory of my new workplace. Suddenly, my father said, "I feel like having a coffee. Is there a vending machine around?" My brother replied, "There's a parking area up ahead. We can buy coffee there," and my father smiled happily for some reason. "All right, let's take a break there." Soon we saw a sign for the parking area. "Stella, go buy us some coffee." as expected. I got out of the car and went to the nearby vending machines. I chose hot coffee for my father and brother, tea for my mother, and picked up a milk tea for myself. As I was about to return, I saw my father unloading my suitcase from the back of the car. "Well, this is goodbye. It's too costly in time and fuel to drive you to the station. You really are like a dog, so easily tamed if treated kindly for a bit. Wait. Isn't the station still far from here? Do whatever you want, run or walk. You were in the track team, you should have the energy. Are you serious? You have to make it on your own from now on? All right, cleaning complete. You really were a big piece of trash getting in the way." My brother said nothing, and he just gently placed my coat on the suitcase. Standing in the snowy parking area, I watched the car disappear into the distance, accepting my fate as if it was the only option. Yet, I felt that a new beginning of my life started right there. I was taking the first step of a new chapter in this snow-covered place. 10 years later, the day came when I visited my hometown. I was thriving as a project leader at a new company. That day, there was work to be done at the local factory, prompting my visit. I felt a twinge of excitement mixed with the resurgence of painful memories from the past. Eventually, the familiar factory came into view. Stella. My heart leapt at that voice. Brother. My brother, who had stepped out of a car, walked towards me smiling and waving. "I was worried you might get lost. The scenery has changed quite a bit. No worries, the GPS guided me well." My brother immediately started talking about work. "About this project, the other party has high expectations, so we need to be prepared." I smiled provocatively. "Well, let's see how long you can keep up that energy. Don't underestimate me, I've been toughened up by the city. You've really become strong." My brother was impressed as he said that. "It's all because I've been pushing myself hard. I naturally become stronger. Our reunion was indeed orchestrated by this job." My brother had utilized his experience in a large corporation to launch a startup, applying his expertise in mechanical engineering to develop innovative products. His products were attracting attention in the market as a turning point for a struggling company. Suddenly, our hometown factory faced a financial crisis. That's why my brother reached out to me, proposing a new project. "Let's get going." I gathered my spirits and headed to the factory with my brother, my face prone to smiling. Opening the factory doors, a chill air mixed with memories from the past greeted us. It was like the scent of a distant past silently awakening. Yes, this place was my childhood home. And then, as if the curtain of a play was lifting, a defining moment arrived. In my view were my parents standing still, as if waiting to apologize. "Thank you for coming all this way." My mother continued to speak as she looked down in desperation. "We heard that you might be able to help our nearly bankrupt factory, and we are deeply grateful." My father also continued without making eye contact. "Please, you don't have to be so formal." My brother encouraged them gently yet firmly. "No, we must demonstrate our sincerity to you, our precious guests from Allen Industries, who have come all the way from New York." As the two continued their apologies, I took the opportunity to steer the conversation. "Let's proceed with business matters." At that moment, their bodies trembled slightly and froze. "Ah. That voice, it sounds familiar," they muttered as they slowly raised their heads and made eye contact. "Yes, I remember that voice too." "You are." "No, it can't be." "Wow, Stella. It is Stella, isn't it?" Seeing their astonished expressions, I couldn't help but laugh. "Hey, finally realized, have you?" "Yes, it's me, Stella, the one you left in the snowy mountains. How come you are here?" "We were told someone from Allen Industries would be coming. Actually, I am serving as a project leader at Allen Industries." Allen's father is the president. After being left behind, Allen, a friend of Elwin, reached out to help me. Elwin had foreseen the events of that day and had taken measures. It was tough, but I've established a certain status now. In fact, I'm married. And my spouse is a department head at Allen Industries. I was sent here under the president's orders to work on this factory's rejuvenation project. Do you understand? At that time, my brother was angry with our parents' actions and had discussed it with Allen. Before heading to the snowy mountains that day, my brother gave me a note. Our parents intend to use this trip to leave you behind. If anything happens, call this number. As expected, when the situation arose, I called the number, and Allen responded swiftly. Allen, a bit embarrassed, confessed that he had taken paid leave in advance to be available for me. I'm really grateful you came to pick me up. It's been a while. Have you been well? As you can see, the situation in the snowy mountains is terrible. It's really upsetting. As I spoke these words with tears, Allen silently loaded the luggage into the car and drove me away. And the company in New York, where I got a job, turned out to be a subsidiary of the company managed by Allen's father. With the support of my brother and Allen, I studied while working for a year, and the following year, I enrolled in a night university. This allowed me to balance work and education. After graduating from university, I managed to transfer to the company run by Allen's father. There, I leveraged my specialized knowledge and secured a job in construction management. Later, as Allen was promoted, I took on the role of leading a project under his direction. As we worked together, my respect for Allen gradually turned into love, and after he proposed, we got married. I continued working and got involved in a project that supported the reshoring of production from overseas factories. Due to the effects of a strong currency and rising labor costs abroad, manufacturing overseas became less advantageous, and there was a renewed interest in domestic production from the standpoint of cost performance and efficiency. While searching for a new factory location in response to these trends, I received surprising news from my brother. Our family's factory was facing financial difficulties. Previously, it supplied machine parts to large corporations, and in an effort not to lose the price competition, continued lowering prices until it was financially cornered. Taking this situation into account, my brother and I visited our family's factory. Seeing me arriving as a member of Allen Industries, my parents suddenly adopted a confident attitude. Well, now that Stella is here, there's no need for us to hold back. Indeed. It's natural for a daughter to help her family in times of trouble. I calmly met their gaze. Are you perhaps misunderstanding something? I don't regard you as my parents at all. I plan to maintain purely commercial relations. How can you say such a thing? How can you be so heartless? I don't recall raising such a heartless daughter. I am truly sad. Although my parents approached me angrily, I explained the situation calmly. The current state of this factory is due to your unplanned management. Therefore, we will be replacing the entire management team with personnel from the headquarters. In other words, this is the end for you two. My father, his face turning red, protested. The factory will be sold, and we will get the necessary funds. I should be able to continue managing it, shouldn't I? I shook my head and delivered the harsh reality. I cannot entrust this factory to you. What do you intend to do about the debts? This rescue operation is possible thanks to the efforts of Elwin. What will happen to our lives from now on? That is your life's challenge. Good luck. We'll discuss the details later. As my brother and I walked away, our parents slumped down powerlessly. Well, that finally settles it. It's not really the end, you know. It's actually just the beginning, since this place is going to become a domestic production hub. Hey, with the production management system you developed and my new machine tools, we have a high chance of becoming the best in the whole country, right? What? No. Huh. We're not just aiming to be the best in the country, we're aiming to be the best in the world. Sharing such aspirations, my brother laughed heartily. As expected, our parents sold the factory, and the amount was not enough to settle their debts. I heard they are now working in a frigid location. They have begged us for money many times. but we have completely ignored them. However, I couldn't do nothing, so I decided to send them the disposable hand warmers I collected during my college days. It was an ironic act of giving back, considering they had left me out in the cold. Meanwhile, the purchased factory has been infused with new life and is shining after renovations. The new factory has centralized the processes from manufacturing to inventory management and shipping, providing new employment opportunities to the local community and receiving significant appreciation. Together with my husband, I'm driving new projects to expand our division. In the future, we plan to focus on supporting American companies in their overseas market expansions and business partnerships. We lead busy lives, but a few times a year, we enjoy a rest at that distant hotel. Every year when it starts to snow, I remember that particular parking area and feel a stir in my heart. This year again, I find myself visiting that place. What are you thinking about? Reflecting on the past again, my husband asked gently. Yes, this place holds unforgettable memories that linger in my heart, I responded. Me too. It all started here, he said with a smile. I remember that day. Despite it being the middle of winter, your face was beet red, like a boiled octopus, I said, trying to hold back my laughter. Haha, you too. Your face was so red you looked like a child, he retorted. We looked at each other and burst into laughter together. Thank you, I love you. No, thank you. Life is like a book composed of many stories. Episodes between a couple like this form a chapter of that story, and it's quite captivating.